Hello there! If you've been watching my videos about our project where we are organizing our overwhelm, you'll know that I have a huge pile of hems. And I don't want to just throw them away. You can't really reuse them for sewing projects. So I decided to crochet these into a blanket. Not a blanket, a rug. You know, the thing on the floor that you step on. Yeah, rug, not blanket. Although you probably could make one of these into a blanket and it would be super thick and warm. So what you're gonna need for this project, you'll need some hems. A sewing machine is probably the easiest way to sew them together. You're gonna need a giant crochet hook, or if you decide to knit it, you'll need a giant knitting needle set. So one thing that I noticed that's kind of problematic is I did not cut these apart. How are you going to sew them together? So rather than cutting them at the seam, which would make sewing them a lot more difficult, I'm going to cut them on the opposite side. So the seam is, where's the seam? Oh, there's two seams. Haha, never mind, bad example. So I'm going to cut them in between the seams over here. So there's a seam here, a seam here. I'm going to cut here. That way my sewing machine doesn't have to go over the big thick bumps. And I lost my scissors. Hold that thought, I'll be back. So you'll notice that I ended up dividing my hems into two different piles because I noticed that these are really, really thin and they will not crochet the same way as the ones over here, which are a lot thicker. So I separated out the ones that are really thin. They are going to be sewed together with each other, and then the normal thickness and extra thick ones are in this. So there are some that are really, really thick, but as long as you don't have any where there's really, really thick hems together with really, really thin hems, should be fine. So, ooh, now that I'm feeling this one, it needs to go in the extra thin. It's not extra thin in like its width, but it's really like a thin fabric. So yeah, it'll go over there. Anyway, so two other things that you need to do before you can get started. First of all, I measured the area that I want this rug to go in. And I made sure if there is a door that's going over it, you have to check and see how much space there is between the door and the floor so that your door will open and close. Now, luckily, the area I want this to go in has a really big space in between them. So that's all good. It's 36 inches is about the area I want it, about the length or the width that I want the rug to be. And then I'll figure out the length later because this is not going to be enough to make the whole rug. We're just getting a start. So I've got my sewing machine threaded. You can use any kind of thread, any color. However, I would avoid white, or if you have a lot of pastels, I would also avoid black. But white, it's really interesting how white, if a color is lighter than your fabric, that thread is going to show up really, really, really boldly. But if a thread is darker than your fabric, it's not really going to show the difference that much. So I have gray thread in the bobbin, and then I'm using up some different threads that I have that I want to use them and free up some space in my sewing cabinet. So we've got burgundy on top, we've got gray in the bottom, and basically what we're going to do is we are just going to put the edges together with a little bit of overlap. Then, let's see if I can get you a bit closer for this part. Then we're going to backstitch a little. Ooh, I still have that on zigzag. Oh, and it's in the middle. Okay. Take two. Now, we're just going to sew in the middle. We're going to start by back stitching a few. Back stitch, and go on to the next one. And I just try to make sure that no two of the same colors go together. Back stitch, back stitch, and on we go. So we finished that step, and now what we have is this long string of loops held together by thread. So we're just going to cut off the thread, make them look neat and tidy, and when we're done, what we're gonna have is an amazing strand of yarn made with these t-shirts. So now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to cut those off. I don't think you need to see that part, right? Yeah, we'll skip that slow-mo. Okay, so I've cut them up and now we have a super long string. You could roll it into a ball if you wanted, just like you would yarn. But we're gonna start, as always, with a slip knot. Put our little crochet hook in, and we're gonna chain, in this case, until it's 36 inches, which is the width I want. It's gonna be, at first, it's really, really hard on your hands because you're not used to it. I would definitely suggest as big of a crochet hook as you can find. Because if your hook is too small, you're gonna have trouble with it, kind of coming off at different points in this. But I will try to get this to 36 inches and then show you what it looks like. Okay, so I am at 36 inches, and so I'm going to crochet 2 more chains. 1, 2, and then I'm going to single crochet in the, the second chain back. And I'm just gonna go across again, just like you would making a really giant pot holder. And you can see the colors just kind of blend in. Whew, and my hand's getting sore. I highly recommend at this point that while you're doing this, you find something to watch or something to listen to. Great time to catch up on a favorite podcast, mayhaps. I've been listening to Voices for Justice. By the way, highly recommend Voices for Justice as a podcast. It's the story of Alyssa Turney, who went missing about 20 years ago, give or take. And her sister Sarah's search for her sister, but then also her search for justice for her sister. And that slowly evolved into one podcast featuring other missing people or cases that that the public can help with, either by putting pressure on a law enforcement agency or by just sharing, getting somebody's picture out, by just different things. So that then became multiple podcasts. So now Sarah Turney has Disappearances, which is just different disappearances through history. And so not necessarily ones that we can help to solve. And then she's got a new one about Maura Murray that I think is going to be really cool. So that's what I've been listening to. Like I said, I finished Voices for Justice, the original podcast, and now I'm listening to Disappearances and Poisoner's Cabinet. So I would love to know what podcasts you listen to when you have spare time. Let me know in the comments. And I am going to keep working on this rug. So when you reach the end of the next row, you're just going to chain one, turn it. It's a little easier, a little harder than it sounds. And then just go into the first little hole and crochet, single crochet across. And you're going to do this back and forth until it's the length that you want. So I bet you're curious what it looks like when it's done, right? Well, I don't have nearly enough to finish this with just what we have here. But let me show you a finished project I have that I made just like this. This one I made a long time ago. I only chose pastel colors. And I made it with whole shirts, not just the hems, but I cut the shirts into about, I don't know, 1.5 inch, 1 inch, depending on its thickness, strips going in a spiral from bottom to top. And this is how it came out. This is a rug that's going to go in my bathroom. They are washable. This one, I think, has been washed a couple of times. I have another one that's been washed several times. They wear pretty well. The one that I'm making right now, I'm actually making to go in kind of like the entrance to the house from the back door. I don't know what you would call that. It would be a mud room if it were an actual room, but it's basically like a landing for the stairs with a door. So it's not really a room per se. There's not room to store anything. Well, not much. The cat's litter box is there. So this will be in the area right by the door, not by the litter box. And it will be so that when we come in, we have a place to dry our feet off, especially when it's snowy, because we have a super steep staircase, and that combined with a slippery, with slippery shoes and a concrete floor at the bottom, does not give me warm, fuzzy feelings of safety. So that is what I'm doing with this one. But my hands are starting to hurt a bit. So I'm gonna pause this for a minute and then I'll come back when it's, there's only that much. Let me see if I can finish it. One thing that's important to note is the texture is going to feel like it's wrong as you're making these. It's gonna kind of bulk up in some places, it's gonna curl in some. This is normal as you go to, as you keep working on it. Some of the areas have thinner yarns, some have thicker, but it all is gonna even out, especially after you wash it once. That will help it a lot. But like I said, it's totally normal. Anyway, I'm gonna listen to a podcast for a few and I will come back and show you this when it's done. Okay, are you ready? So this is what it looks like so far. As you can tell, it did get to be longer than the 36 inches. So it's almost fits in the area that I had it for, with this going widthwise. But what I'll probably do is have it go this way lengthwise. And yes, it's going to be a massive rug. But that's perfect for that space. Are you wondering how I'm going to get more of the hems that I need to finish it? Well, there's a blessing box near me, and the blessing box is a place where people can take things they don't want and people in need can take them. But one problem that they have at the blessing box is a lot of times people will donate things that nobody's going to take. For example, t-shirts with holes, with stains, with logos from obscure sports teams, like, you know, the like 5 school districts over, little kids, sports t-shirts with their last name and number on the back. Like nobody wants those. Nobody's gonna take those. So occasionally I go to the blessing box, I grab some stuff to save it from their dumpster, because that's where those things go if they're not picked up. That's expensive. A church has to pay for that, for everything that goes into that dumpster. So yeah, I have a basically unending supply of hems. But for right now, that's not what I'm doing. I'm focusing on organizing my overwhelm, not bringing more overwhelm into my house. But while I was off crocheting, I also took the small pieces of the smaller hems, sewed them together and rolled them into a little ball. So they are ready for a project. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with those. You could make a hot pad for your kitchen. You could also make a rug, one that's not gonna be as thick and as dense. Yeah, the options are pretty much unlimited. Make a pot holder, yeah, lots of things. So anyway, let me know if you try this. Remember that a lot of the waste that is in America is clothing waste. So always be thinking of ways that you can lower the amount of clothing trash that you generate, and think of creative ways that you can make your clothing waste into other things so it doesn't end up in a landfill. As always, don't forget, if you like this video, to click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, don't forget to eat something wild after you're crafting. I think I'm having chicken and potatoes today.